What's up, guys? I wanted to get on a video and kind of explain a little bit behind the process of self-coaching, why I started to coach myself, recommendations, suggestions when it comes to self-coaching. So, before I kind of get into it, I've got a lot of messages and stuff, saying, oh man, it's cool that, you're doing this whole self coaching thing. It's really inspiring me to, do the same. And, one of the things, it's kind of funny to me because it's like, well, I didn't just decide to do self coaching because, I know more than anyone else, or, I think I know everything. That's not why I started to self coach. Um, you know, I have a big passion for bodybuilding and coaching, and that started well before I actually started competing. I enjoyed writing my own training, my own programming, my own nutrition and stuff, experimenting with those things like trial and error before I ever hired a coach. And then I did hire a coach, and it served a really good purpose for me to have a coach and a mentor to learn from for 7+ years. And I worked with this coach for plenty of shows. So before getting into the whole decision of why I started self-coaching, there was a lot of other stuff that went into it. It's not just knowledge, it's experience too. And I mean, right behind me, there's 8 or 9 shows that I took first place, 3 overalls, 3 overalls, and then the IFBB Pro card, which came at the end of my last season, and my last show working with a coach. Before I decided to coach myself, which was after I turned pro, I had told my coach at the time, months before I turned pro, I said, whether I turn pro or I don't turn pro, after the season, I want to coach myself again, because it would kind of reinvigorate my passion for writing training and coaching others, and the whole trial and error thing, and learning through experience. Once I did turn pro, I did end up, right after that, coaching myself into my health phase, into my off season. Once I started doing the health phase, and I had my whole off season written out about 6 weeks before I even ended my season and I turned pro. I had everything, what I wanted to do, my training written out, I was gonna get blood work done, all that stuff, right? So my nutrition, even so, supplements, everything. I had everything written out, pre-planned, to go into my health phase and into an off-season push phase, about 6 to 8 weeks after my season last year. So my goal was to just put on as much, my feedback from, after I turned pro was everything is really balanced, just grow everywhere. I need to put on a lot of size to go in from being a middleweight to 212 competitor. So, I just, wanted to do my best and see how it went, and, try things out on my own. And also I have done educational courses through a J3U. I did level 1 and level 2, which gave me a lot of knowledge and insight on how I could plan this off season, and also set myself up for success for my next prep, which is what I'm in now. So I just wanted, to try things out on my own. It's not that I would never hire a coach again, that kind of thing. I was always kind of oh, if I want to hire a coach again, I will. But for now, let me try this out. And so, and it went really well. I mean, I went from, I was 180 on stage. My lightest was 172, 173, fully depleted, before getting on stage. And in my peak off-season weight was 233. My previous peak off-season weight before was 222, with a lot more body fat. So, I think my off-season went really well. And, I used a lot from what I learned from other coaches like John Jewett, and also not everything that I, did through J3 University or took from John Jewett I do things a little bit differently. I don't do them the same as everyone else. I have my own experience with my own, with my own preps and my own off seasons through 7 years. So I was able to kind of like put everything together to make my own plan that's right for me, using the things that I wanted to use, and the nutrition and training and how I set up the training. I don't set up my training exactly how J3 University lays it out, but there's things in there that I do take into account and that I could apply. And I think everything in bodybuilding is applicable given certain situations and certain athletes. Like, some things might work better for someone else. It's dependent on their lifestyle too, like what they do for work, whatever. So, my off season went really well. I, was going to contemplate starting prep. I did, 2-week, 2-month health phase. Then I did 4 to 5 months of a push phase to push my body weight up and, gain. And then when it came time for January, February started to come around, where it started to, we had to come back into a health phase. But I'm contemplating starting a prep. We got to get myself ready, so bringing body fat levels down a little bit during this time, cleaning things up a little bit to get myself and my body prepared for a prep, for a 5 to 6 month prep. So, and again, there's things from J3 University that I was able to apply into my pre-prep phase and an end of my off-season phase going into my prep phase. And some of these things it's new knowledge. Some things are things that I learned through my experience of competing over 8 years, and going through off seasons with other different coach and learning what they know, and how it's funny how I do things very differently than my old coach, but very similarly too, because there's a lot of things that I picked up on. Right? But there's a lot of new things that I take into account. And I also have a lot of friends that are coaches too, that, I can kind of ask them questions and, get insight on certain things and maybe apply those things to my off season or prep. So, I think my off season went really well, obviously, because I gained about 20 pounds of stage weight. I mean, I was on stage at 180, and I'm predicting that I'll probably be on stage around 200 to 205 for my pro debut. I do still have some body fat left to pull off. I got 6 weeks, but where I'm looking now is very comparable to where I was 2 to 3 weeks out in my last prep. So I'm very happy with it, and I'm very shocked too, and I'm very surprised that I was able to put on this much weight in one off season. I was not expecting that. I just gave it a shot. I was like, I'm gonna take this formula for my off season, apply it, and see what happens, and it worked. And then going into prep, I wasn't I was kind of contemplating starting prep or not, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to take an extra year. And then I'm like, you know what? I might have put on the size that I need to compete in the 212. No, I'm not going to be 212 pounds and struggling to make weight. I will at some point, but I have plenty of time to do that. It's my first season as a pro. I have plenty of room to grow into that class. So why not just, go for it and see what happens. And my mindset during that time was I was going through a lot of mental, health issues, and more so lack of confidence in my decisions. But, one thing that I could stand my ground on is I'm confident in myself that I made the right decision to coach myself. That was the one thing that I had 100% confidence that I made the right decision on that. So going into prep, it was more of I think I need to prep more for the mental challenge to kind of get the rest of my life organized, because kind of everything else was kind of falling apart. Relationships, I mean, that one, yeah, that's that one I was really confident in what decisions I was making. I was going back and forth on is this the right decision? Is this the wrong decision? I don't know. So a big thing for me was to get my life back on track was, let me go into a prep, because every time that I prep, especially with work related stuff. Work was also kind of like going downhill at this time, like during the holidays and stuff. So January, February, like I made a big decision to switch teams and stuff. And that was really beneficial for me because it got me out of my comfort zone. And I think, when, especially with men, and on this being like June Men's Mental Health Awareness Month too, I think it's probably a good conversation to have, a good thing to talk about, a good topic, is that, I don't think guys like should be comfortable. Like men need to be a little bit uncomfortable to push themselves into, whether it's work, bodybuilding, or sports or whatever, relationships. Especially, I was married previously too. I got really comfortable in that relationship. So there's a lot of mistakes that I've made, but I've learned from. But anyway, the reason why I started prep was more so for the mental challenge of like, what? I need something to like focus on. I need a goal. Like people need to have goals, and something to aim at, and like, something every day they can wake up and work towards. And even though prepping, is bodybuilding related, it allowed me to kind of like put everything else in its place, organization wise, having other goals other than bodybuilding, financial goals, work goals, relationship goals, things like that. So I really started prep more for that purpose, not to like, oh, I want to go qualify for the Olympia or like, win my pro debut or nothing like that, and when I first started prep too, it was more so like, I'm just prepping and I want to see how I do. Like, if I win, great. If I don't, whatever. Now this prep has gone so well that it's kind of turned into more like, okay, well, it's going so good, and like I think I made the right decision to prep. That like, why not go for it all? Why not try to qualify for Olympia? At least give it my all and like really shoot for that goal. And again, going back to like, this is not a thing where I like, didn't want to hire a coach because I think I know it all or I know everything. It's more so the mental challenge for me, and like building my own confidence in myself and trusting myself. And I love that people reach out to me and they're like, oh man, you're inspiring me to like trust myself and, want to coach myself and stuff. Let's pull back a little bit on that, because let's go back. Okay. I have 7+ years of experience in competing. I worked with a coach for 7 years straight. I didn't switch coaches. I learned a lot from this coach. I learned a lot from other friends that are also coaches. I also did educational courses to help me with the knowledge to coach myself. So it's not like, oh, I know everything. I want to coach myself and prove myself or prove myself to everyone else, or prove things to everyone else or whatever. Yeah, sure, it might help me with like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about because like here's the results and he coached himself, he knows what he's doing. Sure, it can help me with like getting clients or whatever, but I wasn't looking at it that way. It was more for like, I just want to be confident in myself that I know what I'm doing and trust myself and trust in my own instincts. And right now, yeah, there's like 2 or 3 coaches that if I wanted to hire a coach, I would hire one of these 3 coaches. And a lot of them are close friends of mine. But it's more so of like, again, the mental challenge of it's really hard to coach yourself because you have to take the emotions out of, when you're looking at your pictures day to day and your weight and things like that and how you feel. And sometimes you gotta like, there's days that are like, well, I coach myself. If I want to give myself a refeed day or a high carb day, I could totally do that. But you know what? That's not how it is. You have to look at, truthfully, the pictures and stuff and what's going on day to day and be like, no, we still have like work to do here. And forget how you feel. You feel like crap. Okay, that's part of the process. And so you have to, again, trust yourself and trust your own decisions and stuff to be able to make these calls. And a lot of it comes with experience and knowledge over the years too, from coaching others. Last prep, I think I really learned a lot from that prep and my coach and looking at how my body responded to things and stuff. And I learned a lot in my last prep about my own body. And I'm not here to say, oh, I know my body more than anyone else or whatever. Like, that's not what this is. I don't know more than everyone else. I'm just doing this because it helps me with my own confidence in myself. It helps me with my own confidence in coaching others as well. And it's a whole trial and error thing where I'm learning through experience. And you know what? If I fail, if I don't achieve my goal, it's just like working with any other coach. If you missed the mark working with this coach, that's not to say that the coach did a bad job or anything. Like, oh, I got to switch coaches now because he missed the mark on the first try. Well, guess what? This is my first trial run coaching myself. If I miss the mark, well, there's something that I can learn from that, and I can keep getting better in coaching myself. And that's what this is about. Like, it's about being able to learn and also trust myself in the decisions that I make. But it kind of translates into everything else in life. It's not just coaching myself with bodybuilding and trusting myself and the decisions that I make. It's trusting the decisions that I make in everything in life. I make this decision. I made that decision for a reason. Some people make mistakes, and they say, "Well, I made a mistake making that decision. It was the wrong decision." Well, whatever you felt that was the right thing to do in that moment, it was the right thing to do. And if it failed, and if it was a mistake and that was a failure, you learned from it, and now you can make better decisions going forward. So yeah, that's pretty much what guided the whole decision of me coaching myself, and also me jumping into a prep. My goals have changed from, oh yeah, I'm just doing this for the mental challenge part, into like organize the rest of my life to, I had a great off season, and this prep is going really well, and I'm doing really good. So why not go for it all and like try to qualify for the Olympia? So that's what I'm doing. And if it doesn't work out, guess what? It's my pro debut season, and I have plenty of room to grow into this class. And whatever mistakes I made or whatever I do through this prep, I can learn for the next one. And so for all the people that are like, inspired by that and like wanting to coach themselves, this isn't me saying that people should just coach themselves. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, like, you need to like learn, have a coach for years, work with different coaches and learn from them. Acquire knowledge through courses and education and research and experience. Win shows, win overalls, get to that level, and then you can think about coaching yourself. Most of you don't have the knowledge to coach yourself. Most of you don't have the experience of like consistency over years. Like, all my first place wins came through from competing since 2017. 8 or 9 first place wins and overalls. That's a lot of experience gained. And also working with coaches and mentors, and also learning and doing research and doing education courses and stuff. So this is not, I'm glad that people are inspired to trust themselves, and I think that should be applied to everything in life. But this is not saying, oh yeah, you should just coach yourself. That's not what I'm saying, because you have to have a certain, prerequisites to be able to get to that point. And sure, there might be some coaches out there that like I could hire that probably do a better job than I am right now of prepping me, but I'm doing a really good job myself. So I'm not at that point yet. If I do get to that point and I need to hire someone, then I will. But right now, I'm doing a great job, and I'm trusting in my own decisions. And I'm also able to apply this attitude towards the rest of my things in life and decisions that I make. So that's kind of a little bit of what went behind me coaching myself in that decision. But that decision was made months prior to me even turning pro, because it was more to like reinvigorate my passion for bodybuilding and coaching, because I enjoyed writing my own training. It just gave me a lot of off season is probably one of my favorite times, because that's bodybuilding. That's what bodybuilding is. It's like, all right, we're gonna put on some muscle here. Like, we're gonna, dial in our nutrition, our training, being very meticulous with it, how I write it out, volume split here, whatever, exercise selection, whatever, all the details that go into it. That's what like reinvigorated my passion for like bodybuilding again. And that's kind of like what is like also helping me with my passion for coaching others too. And I think me coaching myself has also showed some of my clients too, like, okay, like he really does trust himself. It takes a lot for someone to coach themselves. You have to really trust your own decisions. Like if I say I'm going to be doing this, not going back and forth and like, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do this? Should I do that? I don't know. It's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to stick with the plan, and that's what I'm doing. And like, especially inside 6 weeks out, where you're taking things like day by day, you got to look at yourself daily and make a decision of, okay, today this is what I'm doing, and or for the next couple of days this is what I'm doing, or for this week this is what I'm doing, and then reanalyze and take the emotion out of it, of like, forget how you feel, of like, oh yeah, I feel crappy, whatever, I must need a refeed or whatever it is, and take that emotion out of it and stick with the plan. And remember what the goal is, of like, and what your standards are for that goal, like of conditioning or whatever. It's like, my standards are here. I need to get here. And until I get there, I'm sticking with this plan. But yeah, I mean, I'm really like touched that a lot of people are like reaching out, like, oh yeah, like I'm really inspired that, you inspired me to do this myself or whatever. I'm glad I inspire people to like want to trust themselves and, trust in their own decisions. But you hiring a coach, if that's a decision that you made, you should trust yourself that you made the right decision, because whatever reason you have for hiring this coach, trust in that decision. That doesn't mean go back and, oh, I got to trust myself. And you know what? I think I know my body better than this coach or whatever. Because again, you work with a coach, maybe they missed the mark on the first year or two. Guess what? I missed a pro card for 5-6 years. I didn't quit working with that coach to hire another coach. We went back to the drawing board, figure out what we need to work on and improve on, and we keep going. It's the same thing. And a lot of people, they'll hire a coach that missed the mark on the first one or second one, and then they're like, all right, jump ship, we're gonna hire a different coach. Well, now you gotta start that process all over again. That coach has to get to know your body. That coach may miss the mark on the first one again too, until they start to learn their body and or do the right things. And of course, I mean, hiring a coach, you got to have certain things, like they got to have knowledge, they got to have experience, etc. So take all that stuff into account when you're hiring a coach. But for most people, you need to hire a coach, and you're not going to be able to coach yourself. I'm just saying that for most people. And I'm not saying that I'm an outlier, that I know more than everyone else. I did this for a different reason than, oh, let me, I want to put my own knowledge to the test. But I'm doing this for bigger reasons than like, oh, I just want to prove to the world that I know everything. That's not what this is. This is more of a mental challenge for me, of like building my confidence in myself with other decisions that I make in life, relationships, business-wise, etc. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what went into like coaching myself and that decision, and some of the messages I've been getting about people coaching themselves, etc. So